Merry Meet and welcome to Thrilling Thursday here at Ariel's Corner. This is Ariel Gatoga and we are streaming live on YouTube. And moderating today for us are the lovely Minerva, the lovely I Am Her Eminence, and the lovely Jennifer. Thank you so much, moderators, and thank you so much to everyone for joining us today. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Our website's at arielscorner.com, arielscorner.com. Make sure you read our most recent blog posts. Check out all of the free courses we have there. We have all kinds of free booklets and guided meditations, lectures, etc. While you're there, check out all of the links to our social media on our headers and footers of each page. And that includes our private Facebook group, not Goop, we don't have Goop, our private Facebook group, and our Discord server. And those are great places to come and get support and be part of our community. I have a podcast hub at arielspodcasts.com, arielspodcasts.com. Also, there's a shop that you can find at arielscornershop.com, arielscornershop.com. Should you like to give a donation to Ariel's Corner, you can find a donate link in the footer of each page on our website. Remember, that's arielscorner.com. Or you could use our PayPal portal, and that's at paypal.me/arielgatoga. Or you could use a super sticker, super chat, or super thanks right here on YouTube. We do appreciate your support. We have a premiere today in about 40 minutes from now. I hope you can join us there. Is that? Oh, yeah, we have a chat thread going, and please chat amongst yourselves. If you have any questions for me, you can put them right in that chat thread, and I will do my best to get to them before the end of the stream. If I don't get to your questions, we'll get to them on the next stream, or you can take them on over to Discord or our Facebook group. Speaking of that, we had some questions yesterday that I ran out of time and didn't get to answer. So if any of you that asked those questions happen to be listening, I'm answering them now. The first question, I was coloring the second pentacle of Mars from the Pentacles of Solomon. And I have a free booklet on that you can get. See if I can find it. The URL for that is... sorry, I should have had this ready. Okay, the URL for that is arielgatoga.com/Solomon-Pentacles. arielgatoga.com/Solomon Pentacles with a hyphen in the middle. And so some of these questions are about that. So the first one is, can we use watercolors? Because I was using alcohol markers. You can use any colors, any kind of coloring media that you like. You can use any medium that you like. And if you download that booklet, it talks about that, how you can use any kind of coloring tool that you want. We also have a whole course in color magic that you might want to look at as well. And it's beyond just the Solomon Pentacles. And you can find that at arielgatoga.com/color-magic. arielgatoga.com/color-magic. All right. How long can you use a talisman before it needs to be torn up? It depends on how you're making the talisman and how you're using it. I have a book on basic talismans that are broadcasting talismans. I have a couple videos on those as well. And you can keep those up perpetually, and they broadcast a particular thought. And with those, we say don't have more than 3 going at the same time because your results tend to get diluted. So with those, you would rip one up anytime you wanted to start a new one if you had more than 3 going. For the Solomon Pentacles, usually what I do is if I'm doing a banishing Solomon Pentacle, if it's to get rid of something, I let it charge for about an hour or so, and then I rip it up right away that same day. If it's for increasing something or drawing something or creating something. I usually do that close to the new moon, and then I keep it until the following new moon, and then I destroy it. What are your thoughts on cooking/baking and using herbs and intentions to create a spell? I like to do it occasionally and feel at ease while eating what was made, almost like setting a paper on fire. You can do that. You can charm or enchant food. It's just you don't want to do. You can do anything you want, but I avoid putting a particular intention on a piece of food that is meant to force my will upon another person and then they eat it. That, to me, that's not good. I would never do that. But a general intention, like if you were cooking for your family and you wanted just to put an intention of love or peace or that kind of thing, I don't see anything wrong with that. Okay. Since the specific talisman uses 6 points, does it indirectly call out to Mikael too? Happy and thankful we're all spending time together. It could. You don't want to get superstitious about things. And because what happens is if you start putting meaning on each and every little thing, it becomes so cumbersome, you get almost buried in symbolism. The only time I worry about how like the numbers of points in a star is if I'm working a star talisman specifically and I'm invoking the powers of that sphere on the Hermetic tree. If I'm using the Solomon Pentacles, they were not necessarily written to go along with that system. I just let them be what they are, and I don't worry about it. If he's got that he created that as one of the pentacles of Mars, I let it be a Mars pentacle, and I don't worry too much about the fact that it's a 6-pointed star rather than a 5-pointed star, because that wasn't their point when they did it. So for me, I don't overload myself with worrying about that kind of thing unless that was my intention when I created the talisman. Okay, I was curious what would be a good way to maintain focus during the day. Oops, turn that off. I was curious what would be a good way to maintain focus during the day without having to do meditation all the time. My energy usually flares and wanes during the day. Feels a bit odd. Well, you don't have to meditate all the time, but it's okay to do a quick meditation, like to excuse yourself in the restroom and then maybe do the magic minute. It's just a minute long, and that's a good way to take care of that. Or to do the solar light meditation, you can do that in like 30 seconds. It's okay to do that. Now, you may want to just have a phrase that you speak that focuses your mind on whatever your intention is, like an affirmation or a chant or even a keyword. But you don't have to meditate all the time, but it's sometimes good to have a quick sort of regrouping that you can do. And that's why I like the magic minute. I like the solar light meditation. And like I said, sometimes I just will take a key phrase, like you said, to maintain focus during the day. You could just have the word focus that you think. Maybe you calm your mind, and if you can, close your eyes and repeat the word focus out loud or silently 3 times to focus your mind. Okay, do we have a replacement to honeysuckle? Oh, I was using honeysuckle because that's the floral perfume for Mars. Yeah, any fiery martial perfume you can use. If you take my intermediate class in witchcraft called Beyond the Basics, you can there's a more extensive lists of perfumes and herbs and things like that for each of the planets, and I believe that there may be some expanded correspondences for the angel perfumes in the basic angel magic course. I believe there are. So there are other perfumes you can use. Okay, that did it. Oh, No, there's more. Okay. I have a question about raising power in the, which is primer course. I do Reiki. Also, we channel energy from the super crown chakra. Does that work for raising the energy weak, or must we raise energy from the earth? You don't have to do anything. There's no law. You can do anything you want, but before you just say, I'm not going to do something because I have another thing that I like doing, when you're taking a course, I recommend that you try it, that you give it a good try, and you actually do the work that I give you to see what the difference is. And maybe, you'll find other ways of working it. We're raising energy for the purpose of ultimately building a thought form. So you may want to try it the way I give it to you, but you don't have to. I wrote some petition for the universe and it came true 3 days later. I wrote thanks and rip it up. Is that good, or do I need to let it be in my notebook? You can do anything you want. There's nobody that's going to come and check up on you. But the reason why I like to keep a notebook is because we think, oh, I'm going to remember this, or I'm going to remember all of what I did and all of what happened. And oftentimes we don't remember it. And if we put it in our diary, our magic diary, our journal, then when we're trying to remember what we did, we can go back and look and say, oh, this is how I did that, or this is what happened. Or if we're, feeling down and we want to go back and remember some of our successes, we have them listed in our book. So it's a lot easier for us to have, proof that our magic worked. So that helps us to build up our faith. But you don't have to do that. You can do anything you want. I want to make sure that everybody understands that I never give you rules that if you must do it this way or it's wrong. I want you to be able to understand your craft it's an art form. And there's many ways to make art. But when you study a school of art, it's important, it's helpful to master the principles of that school of art so that you can say, yes, I was trained in the blah, blah, blah school. But then you can move on from that. You can move beyond that, but you have those skills. So I've personally like to, whenever I'm studying anything, I like to really be pure about the way I'm studying what they're giving me, so that I can glean all of the benefits from whatever the disciplines are that I'm being given. And then I may not use them later. I may say, oh, that was interesting, and then just put it to the side. Or I may think I'm not going to use it, and then I will use it much, much later or something. But at least I've been respectful enough to myself to do what it is, rather than prejudging it and saying, oh, I don't think I need this because I'd use it, I do this or I do that. Sometimes, it's good to just say, I'm going to just take this course. I'm just going to take the course. And that's why I love having my courses be non-perpetual. It's just, it's just this many weeks. Do it for this many weeks and then you're done. And then you can decide if the skills that you learned in that amount of time are worth using or not, worth keeping or not. But it's always up to you. It's always up to you. There's no witch police. There's no dogma. Nobody's going to come check up on you. But at the same time, if you're complaining to yourself how come nothing's ever working for me? Maybe ask yourself, well, did I complete my training, or did I just kind of skirt around it because I didn't feel like doing all that stuff? So, sometimes it's a good idea to just, hunker down and complete a particular training before you decide whether or not you like it. Okay, well, those are all amazing questions. Thank you so much. All right, I'm not sure if I'm going to have time to get through this whole lecture, but we're going to do our best. If you're in a place that is safe and appropriate, please close your eyes and take 6 long, slow, deep, relaxing breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. With every inhale, feel more peace and light entering the body and mind. With every exhale, let go of all the tension in your body, along with anything in your mind that you do not want. inhaling peace and exhaling as you let go. We picture ourselves on top of a beautiful mountain in the center of a circular grove of trees. In the center of our circle, a bonfire blazes forth, lighting us and the grove with this sacred golden light. This is the light of perfect love and perfect trust, and it burns away everything unlike itself, easily and gently, leaving us safe and serene. Into this space, we invoke our Creator. To many of us, our Creator reveals themselves to be a mother and father, a goddess and God. We call upon our angels, our guides, and our teachers, and we ask that we be guided as we walk upon the way, becoming happier, wiser, more magical, more prosperous, more loving people. Blessed be. Today I'd like to talk about astral creation. We talk about this from time to time, but it's a good thing to bring up every so often so that we keep our minds focused on what cause is and what effect is, and make sure that we are always living within our true creative powers. Understanding that it's important to understand that the mind has limitless power. And when we explore the connection between the mind and the astral plane and the material world, we come to understand that our power is vast. And we link this power very frequently to lunar tides. And this helps us to anchor our power with the creative tides, and it helps us to have better results in our magic. There are times when you can't use the lunar tides. You need what you need when you need it, and we say need always supersedes timing. But if you can, it's a good idea to anchor your magic with the lunar tides, because all you're doing is going with the flow and allowing yourself to have more success, rather because you're not fighting against the flow. So thought is creative. All that is created from thought. You are created from thought. The world is created from thought. Everything that we experience has its origins in the realm of thought, and thought is in the realm of the astral plane. The astral plane is the causative plane out of which all manifestation occurs. I was taught by a teacher that had a great deal of experience in the occult understandings of the Bible, and especially she loved the Old Testament. And so when she taught me about the astral plane, she said the astral plane is like a sea, but there's two seas. There's the Red Sea, which is the creative mind or the creative astral, and then there is the Dead Sea, and that's the stagnant mind that tends to be either destructive or stagnant. It's stagnant and can be destructive. She also taught me that the mind is a magnet. And when she talked about a magnet, she said, you know, that if you put two magnets together, they can either come together or they can repel one another, depending on which poles are facing one another. So you can think of your mind as the same kind of magnet. Not only can it draw things to you, but it can repel things from you. And she also taught that it's helpful to think of your thought forms as living entities, that manifest in reality. It's important that we train the mind in order to be able to optimize the astral plane and optimize the creative abilities that we have in our mind. Concentration is the foundation of all true magical power, and to be able to focus your mind on a single thought is very important. And a lot of people have trouble with concentration and they think that they can't do it. And my recommendation to you is to not think like that and not worry so much, that you can concentrate. Notice how when you're really interested in something, your mind doesn't wander so much. And when you are really engrossed in a topic or an activity, that time seems to fly by and you forget where you are. And you don't remember how long you've been doing whatever you've been doing, how long you've been engaged in this activity or this study. Sometimes if you're reading a really good book, you realize, oh my gosh, 6 hours has gone by and it seems like I just started this. So you do have powers of concentration, and you can use simple techniques to help you to evoke your powers of concentration at will. And my favorite exercise is called the Magic Minute. And it's very simple. I have a whole video on the Magic Minute, which doesn't last very long. It's a very short video, but it's very simple. You simply give yourself a minute and you set a timer where you focus on a particular keyword. And for the Magic Minute exercise, I give the word blessed be, or the phrase blessed be. And so you just close your eyes, and with each inhale, you mentally affirm the word blessed. And with each exhale, you mentally affirm the word be. And then you're saying blessed be. And notice when your mind wanders off the words blessed be, and don't get upset about it, just notice it and bring it back to the blessed be, that internal repetition of the word blessed be linked up with your breathing. And as soon as that minute is done, if your alarm goes off, you're done. You've done your concentration exercise for the day. Even if you think, yeah, but the bulk of the time I was noticing that I wasn't thinking about it, that's fine. That's fine. You're just doing your best for 60 seconds. Once you feel comfortable with 60 seconds, you can increase the time that you do this exercise. Maybe add another minute. And so your magic minute will last 2 minutes. And then maybe you'll try 3 minutes until you get up to 20 minutes is plenty. You don't need to go more than that. You can. Some people like to do 30, but you don't have to ever feel strain. If you feel strain while you're doing this exercise, pull it back to a shorter period of time. It's not so much how long you spend in the exercise, it's just the doing of the exercise. And if you can get yourself to do it once a day, you're going to do just fine with concentration. Like I said, the astral plane is the realm where our thought forms become reality. And like I said, the Red Sea is the astral plane that nurtures positive, creative thoughts that manifest as the experiences that we want. The Dead Sea breeds negative, worrisome, troublesome thoughts that result in what we don't want. The thing I greatly feared has come upon me, Job said. That was Job hanging out in the Dead Sea. So if you notice that you're hanging out in the Dead Sea, it's important to notice that and say, oh, no, I'm going to move over to the Red Sea where my thoughts are creative and creatively making experiences that I want rather than ruminating on what I don't want over in the Dead Sea. And again, this is symbolic. There aren't actually two different seas in your mind. These are just symbols that can be helpful to say, oops, I'm in the Dead Sea. I want to be in the Red Sea. The mind's magnetic force interacts with the astral plane to either draw experiences to the material world or repel experiences from you in the material world. Like I said before, the lunar tides can be very helpful when we are working with the astral plane to manifest things that we desire. The moon's phases affect the tides of the world, but they also affect the tides of our bodies and our minds. And the waxing moon, as we've always been as we teach frequently, the waxing moon is best for creation, attraction, and building outcomes that we desire. The waning moon is ideal for banishing, eliminating, repelling, and disintegrating unwanted things in our lives. Now, if you notice that you hang out a lot in the Dead Sea, worrying about something over and over, you can't stop thinking about the worries. You can't stop thinking about the worries. You may want to work a technique called the worry bowl. And I have a whole video on the worry bowl. It's a very simple exercise, and I recommend that you take a look at that video. Now, if the worry bowl isn't something that you want to use, it's usually a bowl with nails to nail down worries and anxiety. And we physically place the worries in the nail and then into the bowl to alleviate from the mind the worry. We've symbolically taken the worry from our mind and put it in the nail and put the nail in the worry bowl. And we've nailed it away from our mind. That's a way that we move that we intentionally move from the Dead Sea into the Red Sea so that we can start becoming creative rather than destructive with our thinking. It's okay to use your thinking destructively if you're doing it on purpose, like in other words, to destroy a debt or to destroy an illness or something like that. That's what we use the waning moon for. But you don't want to hang out in the Dead Sea, because even when you're doing a banishing, you're doing it in the Red Sea. You're doing it purposefully and intentionally. But if you're hanging out in the Dead Sea, that means that your thoughts are attacking you, and you are habitually involved in creating realities for yourself that you do not want. And that's what we're talking about, that unconscious creation of what you don't want by constantly ruminating over everything you don't want. So the worry bowl is a wonderful technique. Now, it's not the only technique. There are all kinds of ways that you can move out of the Dead Sea and into the Red Sea. One is just to simply take out a piece of paper when you're really worried about something and do a stream of consciousness of what you're worried about, what you think is the worst possible outcome, and just write them down. I'm going to be homeless. I'm going to be broke. I'm going to starve to death. I'm going to get a divorce. I'm going to whatever. All of your worries, and you just write them out on that piece of paper. And then you go back through and you find a positive thought that you're going to flip it into. That's an intention for you. So I think I'm worried about I'm going to be on the street. The infinite intelligence provides for all of my needs at every moment of time and point of space. All is well. Right? So you've just moved into some intentional creation. You have directly confronted your worry and turned it around. You've moved out of the Dead Sea and into the Red Sea. Where am I? Oh. Whenever you use your power of imagination, you are in the astral realm. If you are using your imagination to think about everything you don't want, you are in the Dead Sea. If you are using your imagination to purposefully think of creating something you want or eliminating something you don't want, you are in the Red Sea. So any kind of visualization, creativity, creative activity that gets your mind engaged in focusing on what you want is a smart thing. Rituals, hobbies, activities that help occupy the mind, preventing the creation of negative thoughts and reinforcing positive intentions is the goal. When you allow there's that old saying, and idle hands are the devil's workshop. Idle thinking is the ego's playground. So don't allow yourself to spiral into nonstop worry, nonstop negative thinking. When you catch yourself doing that, don't chastise yourself. Just notice it. In fact, say, oh, good, I'm glad I noticed that. I'm glad I noticed that I'm in the Dead Sea. I'm moving over to the Red Sea. Anytime you're intentional about your thinking, you automatically show up in the Red Sea. And the secret here is that the Red Sea is your home. The Dead Sea doesn't exist. The Dead Sea is an illusion. So anytime you notice that you're in an illusion, then you notice that you're creating illusions for yourself. So as soon as you wake up to the truth about it, you automatically wake up where you belong, right in that Red Sea. We need to overcome or rise above our fearful thinking in order for us to become adept at creating what we want. So to become a magical adept, is important that we rise above our fearful thoughts. There are primitive fears that we pick up just from the group mind, the demiurgic mind. Those are fears of darkness, loneliness, fears of falling, fears of loud noises. Those are all inherited from ancestral thinking. And those can be overcome. But those aren't primarily the fears that we want to confront first and foremost. We want to confront our personal fears, our fears of poverty, our fears of illness, the fear of change, the fear of intimacy, all of those sorts of things. Those stem from our personal laws that we have created over our life. The decisions that we've made about ourselves and the world, and then gone unconscious to the decisions that we made. And then those decisions that we made will rise up as fears in our lives. And then those fears attempt to control our thinking and our behavior so that we don't actually be, do, or have what we want. And so once we recognize that those were self-created fears, and so we can uncreate them, once we realize that we have a lot more power than we ever knew. If we can confront those fears that we've made for ourselves and overcome them and rise above them, and then we have all of that power of creation at our fingertips that we didn't think we had before. We thought we were at the effect of so much that we aren't at the effect of. So it's very important that we take time to examine ourselves. And the best way to do that is to first and foremost examine the circumstances in our lives. And then we can just prioritize what's the most pressing need that I have right now. Well, let's say it's your most pressing need is that you need to pay some bills. Looking at those bills, you can ask yourself, what fears do these bills represent? You can take out a piece of paper and write those fears down. Fear of poverty, fear of not having enough. And then what are the thoughts that those fears originated from? Usually, I'm not capable. I don't know enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I came from the wrong side of the tracks. All of those ideas created decisions. We made decisions about ourselves and our world. And those are the origins of those fears. And once we recognize that we are the ones that made those decisions, we can undecide that. It puts us in the driver's seat. Remember that negative thoughts and fears create destructive thought forms on the astral plane. The Dead Sea is the breeding ground for these destructive thought forces, these destructive thought forms. We counter those negative thought forms with positive opposites to neutralize and repolarize our psychic batteries, to repolarize our thought forms. Excuse me, I got distracted. Speaking of distractions. So, for example, if you notice that you have the fear of illness or the constant preoccupation with illness, just start thinking about radiant health. Just start thinking about it. I'm going to make a choice. It's just as easy for me to think about radiant health. Even if I'm exhibiting symptoms, there's nobody that can tell me I'm not allowed to think of radiant health. I'm going to start thinking thoughts of radiant health. I'm going to start writing down thoughts about radiant health. I'm going to start creating chants about radiant health. How about I build a thought form about radiant health? I might take a candle and burn it. I might do a talisman. I can do a very, very simple talisman. I can create my own talisman, or I can use a talisman that I've learned. But I'm going to start thinking thoughts about radiant health. And the more I occupy my mind with thoughts about radiant health and building thought forms about radiant health, it neutralizes. It neutralizes my thought form. And those old thought forms about illness start to dissolve and go away. And we start feeling better about our health long before the symptoms change. We just start feeling better about it. We just have a sense of peace and certainty about our health. And sure enough, we start to have better results on our tests, better results on our blood work, things like that. Poverty, worrying about money. The more worry about money doesn't create money. People think it will. They think, well, maybe it'll motivate me. It may, and that's the one positive thing about fear, is it can be a motivator. But let it motivate you into thinking new thoughts about money, to get excited about your prosperity, to get thrilled that you are a prosperous individual, a prosperous being who has the powers of creativity and can create whatever you want. Thinking about, well, what do you want? What if I had money? What would I buy? What would be different? How would my life look? How can I act like that now? How can I think like that now? How can I create thought forms about prosperity that make me feel good? Maybe you have thoughts of loneliness. Well, those thoughts are part of a thought form. And that thought form is going to create evidence to support your loneliness, and that's what it's there for. So get out of that Dead Sea. Don't allow yourself to ruminate over your loneliness. Start thinking about, well, what does companionship look like? What do I want? Do I want more friends? Do I want to get married? Do I want a partner? What do I want? What would that look like? It's not so much you hear about, what are the qualities of your ideal mate. You can do some of that, but you don't want to put so much down on your list of an ideal mate about physical characteristics and that you crowd out the possibility of you actually having an ideal mate. A lot of times that's the ego trying to create somebody that doesn't exist. So instead, think in terms of what are the qualities that I want in companionship? What are those going to feel like? What's the essence of what I want? And you get your mind focused on those kinds of thoughts. It crowds out the negative thought form of loneliness. It starts to actually destroy that because you can only have one thought form that manifests in space and time at one time. You can only have one thought form manifest on the screen of space at a time. You can't have a lonely thought form and a companion thought form together. One is going to overtake the other. You can't have the poverty and the prosperity together. You can't have the health and the illness together. You can't have the imprisonment and the freedom together. One will take precedence over the other. And so your job isn't to fight it out among the thought forms. Your job is to just focus on what you want and let the thought form take care of itself. And spell casting is one of the best ways to do that. One of the best ways to build thought forms because it's very structured, it's very focused. We use a lot of symbolism, a lot of different physical senses are involved so that we can keep our mind anchored on what we want, so that we can stay in that Red Sea and out of the Dead Sea. Doing your best to do your spells according to the lunar phases is really smart. But like we said, if for some reason you can't, don't worry about it. You just go for what you need first, and then you can pick up on the timing later when things get a little bit more settled down for you. Building positive thought forms in the Red Sea and avoiding the Dead Sea. When you notice that you're in the Dead Sea, just notice it and make a choice. I'm going to think on purpose. I'm not going to think by rote. I'm going to think on purpose. And the more you do that, the less those thought forms that emanate from the Dead Sea have hold over your mind, and definitely have hold over your environment. Remember that you are the thinker. You are the creator in your life. The more that you can accept your power of creation and focus your mind, the more you're going to see those results. You can use those lunar phases and those astral forces to your favor, taking very practical action with spellcasting and different rituals and techniques, and we teach a lot of them here, and maybe there's other techniques that we don't teach that you like. Whatever you need is fine, as long as you understand it's not the tools that are powerful, it's that those tools are focusing your mind so that you come out of that Dead Sea into the Red Sea and become a purposeful creator. The mind's power is limitless when trained and focused. The astral plane, with its Red Sea and Dead Sea, is the realm where thoughts take form and manifest in reality. And the more purposeful you are in understanding that, the better. So get busy, look at your mind, allow yourself to create intentionally, and don't be mean to yourself when you notice that you're creating unintentionally. Just shift it. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. Until next time. Blessed be. Okay, we are really late. I'm not even going to do exit music. We'll see you over at the premiere. Until next time, blessed